The Nets have turned their season around and now are in fourth place in the Eastern Conference. Time to talk some Brooklyn hoops with the great Nets beat reporter for the New York Post, Brian Lewis. Brian, we're going to actually talk some Nets basketball, and actually we're not going to talk about drama, so I'm excited to talk to you today. It's just going to be basketball. Now, Brian, the Nets, they are riding a 4-game winning streak. They've won 8 out of their last 10. What's been working for Brooklyn during this stretch?
Oh, well, what I'd say is, for one, they've actually started rebounding. I mean, largely going into this stretch, they've been the worst rebounding team in the league, and they've had to overcome giving up possession by possession. And when I say that, I don't mean they weren't executing by possession or they weren't trying. I just mean they were giving up 8, 9, 10, 12 more shot attempts every game. And that's not really a recipe for winning. That's not something you can maintain or sustain. Now they've actually been rebounding. They don't necessarily always out-rebound their opponent, but at least when they're in the general vicinity of their opponent, they have a better than normal chance of winning just because of the offensive efficiency of some of the players they've had. Yeah. So they've been holding their own on the boards, and that's why they're winning.
Yeah, helps when you can be close or competitive in that rebound battle. Now, Brian, how much of this turnaround with the team should be credited to Jacques Vaughn, and what has he changed with this team since he's taken over for Steve Nash?
I think a lot of it. I mean, for one, he holds guys accountable. He's not necessarily a strict, hardcore rules guy. As you saw, anybody that read that excellent Q&A with Steve Serby, where he sat down with Jacques, would see that. But what I would say is he holds every guy on that roster accountable, from 1 through 15, and I'll even include the two-ways. That's what he demands. And if you're not going to play hard and you're not going to defend, you just won't play. And Kyrie Irving was saying that himself. That's just simply one of those type of non-negotiables that Jacques has.
Yeah, it's very interesting that he's holding the players accountable. They are responding well to it, and we're seeing the change in play with the Nets. Now, speaking of that change in play, Brian, the Nets, they played a favorable schedule recently, including a 7-game homestand. Yeah. However, now you know this, the schedule gets much tougher over the next 12 games. 8 of those are on the road. So what will this upcoming stretch of games tell us about Brooklyn?
Well, it'll tell us whether right now they can compete with the best in the league, and we don't know whether they can. We know that as long as they have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and are playing at least reasonably hard, that they can scratch out wins against either mediocre teams or shorthanded teams. When you look at the homestand, most of those wins were against teams that were either missing players or were lottery type teams. The one elite team that they played, Boston, they lost it. So we're going to find out over this stretch. And if you extend it, whether it's just this 5-game stretch that they have or whether you extend it out to 12, you're going to be playing the best team in the West. You're going to be playing the best team in the East. You're going to be playing the number 2 team in the East, the number 3 team in the East. You're going to be going on the road. Presumably, these teams won't all be as decimated as the teams that they played during this homestand. So we're going to find out whether this is, at least for the short term, sustainable, or was this just a function of who they were playing, and more to the point, who they didn't have to play.
Always interesting to see. Time will tell, right? This is why they play the games. We will see what they can do against stiffer competition and hopefully healthier competition. We will see that. Brian Lewis of the New York Post, he's a Nets beat reporter. He will be all over it. Brian, thank you for your time. Glad to talk basketball and not have to talk about drama today. Always good to talk to you.
Oh, that's nice for a change, yes,
it is.
Isn't it?
It definitely is. Thank you, Brian.
Anytime.